How's it going, guys? Today I'm going to be featuring the Salem, the Tier 8 American heavy cruiser that you can purchase for steel in the forge. Well, a couple of, I don't know if it's weeks or days, but I guess recently I posted a couple of videos in the Des Moines. One was with the Shelly Beepley build, our typical stealth radar build, and then we did a Norman Scott, I guess technically free to play build, so it's not a commander that you would necessarily have to purchase, and it's just stuff you would get out of the national crates. Also, using the Norman Scott build because, well, when we did play the Des Moines with Beepley, there was quite a few situations where a bunch of broadside cruisers that we should typically be dev striking, we left on slivers of HP. And then also our shells were just not hitting where we wanted them to. So ultimately, we went with a DPM slash accuracy build with Norman Scott, hoping that it would be a lot better, which I think overall it was, although losing out on turret traverse was kind of rough. And I guess also not quite having the concealment. But at the same time, 10 cam radar, 10.1 detection, which is currently what we also have on Salem. Not the end of the world for Des Moines, as zero point 0.1 cam difference is basically enough for you to catch whatever it is that is outspotting you. And then in the case of Salem, well, you don't really have a long range radar anyway, and even with Beepley, we couldn't stealth radar. All we could do is get, I guess, close enough, and then use our, what is it called? Whatever the unique skill that points in the direction of the closest ship. Basically use that in conjunction with our radar, as well as pushing into objectives to try and catch them early game. And then, well, if we could get rid of them, then, we could easily farm over islands or do whatever we really needed to do. Also, on top of all of those reasons that I just mentioned, both Des Moines and Salem both got nerfed with their main battery reload and their HE and AP alphas. So using Norman Scott, we were trying our best to get as much of that back as we possibly could. Part of me does wish Salem wasn't down tiered though, and it was just left at legendary tier. But yeah, it is what it is. Ultimately, trying to get the AP damage at least is quite important, and well, HE, you can kind of get away with just using the fire skills. Not the end of the world that the alpha is super low, although you do notice it against destroyers, especially in Salem, because I'm pretty sure Salem's HE damage is, I think, on par with the Seattle at 2300, which is pretty low considering it's a heavy cruiser with 203mm guns. But it is what it is. I'm pretty sure they did it because a lot of destroyers were dying a bit too quickly, maybe even battleships, considering you just farm over islands. And bound reversing, well, just simply doesn't work, but that's what everyone does. And, well, they had to nerf both Salem and Des Moines. But, yeah, pushing into the cap, we radar. We're close enough that if there was any destroyer, we would assume that we would catch him, but we also needed to see what else was over the islands, considering there wasn't a whole lot of things spotted. And, well, I was a little worried as well that trying to get into this objective, something would basically push up on this island to my left, and then either YOLO me or dev strike me through the bow if it was a battleship. The Georgia, pushing around the flank, does end up going down to the Jean Bar, which is great because at first I thought he beached and started reversing because he wasn't spotted for the longest time. And then eventually Siegfried was able to, I guess, spot him. But at the same time, I'm not sure why he decided to game return and go broadside to their battleships. Had he just angled, he might have survived a little longer. Quite unfortunate, but yeah, without our detection being that great, wanting to kind of farm this Iowa that's now charging at the Siegfried, we're going to reverse away and see if we can get the island in between us a little bit sooner, since he is sailing forward and was focused on the Siegfried. So we're going to just reverse away. I was also kind of hoping that our Jean Bar would be a little more aggressive, but he's basically been sitting at that island the entire time. The enemy destroyer has already been spotted at sea, and there's really nothing here on this side for our Jean Bar to worry about. He's just, I guess, trying to conserve HP. It is what it is, though. Now that we're the only thing spotted and also providing spotting, we need to try and not get focused that badly. We do have a basically super heal, but at the same time being super squishy, not that great. Also, considering the other flank, our destroyer is already super low, and the enemy destroyer is basically chasing all of our ships in our spawn, which obviously isn't good. So we do need to try and get something done on this side. Otherwise, well, if we're still stuck here, our team is going to keep running. They'll end up behind us, and then if we don't finish off this Iowa and whatever battleship and cruiser is still in their spawn, well, we're basically going to start getting crossfired from everywhere. So I start pushing back into the island, hoping that the Jean Bar would also start pushing out and maybe spot some of the ships that's shooting me over this island with the Hogwarts castle. But yeah, no, he's still at the island, shooting over islands, staying unspotted, while we're providing all the spotting and taking all of the damage. Kind of unfortunate, Jean Bar. I mean, you're basically angled. Nothing at this tier could overmatch you except the Musashi, which the enemy team does not have. But yeah, finally ping him to, well, start moving in because, well, I can't keep taking the damage. Amagi took a pot shot at us, as well as what will turn out to be a Kansas in front of us, still in the enemy spawn. So a lot of battleships that are basically capable of dev striking us through the bow or crossfire from Amagi, which isn't good. Had Jean Bar pushed in a lot sooner, he would have had the Takahashi that was shooting at me spotted, as well as the Kansas that, well, will get spotted very shortly. And yeah, ultimately, Jean Bar sitting that far away didn't help us that much. Torpedoes from Takahashi coming into the cap. Luckily I beached because I had no intention of pushing a Kansas who is basically in a kiting position. If he can overmatch, that's basically death. If I don't have cover that I could possibly reverse to. Kansas' salvo, though, luckily doesn't smash us that badly, and we're able to actually reverse. Jean Bar finally leaves his island. Takahashi is kind of in a bad spot here. He can't really turn away. Jean Bar has a reload boost, and I'm not sure if he was assuming Jean Bar would keep it. But it also looks like this could be an opportunity. Not sure which side Takahashi had used in terms of his torpedoes. So I'm kind of waiting for him to do a game return where we could possibly Citadel him. And, well, hopefully save our Jean Bar from eating too many torpedoes. Getting a bunch of Citadels. Not quite as much as I would have liked. We are using, I believe, turret traverse mod, so we don't have the 7% dispersion from aiming systems, which I probably would like to use. But again, like I mentioned, turret traverse on Salem and Des Moines as well is kind of brutal, and I kind of feel like we need the turret traverse. But also using Scott, we do have basically 10% Sigma buff or grouping. And then as well as like, I believe it does 5% dispersion as well for fixated, which, I mean, it's 2% less than just using aiming systems. But I figure it would be okay if we didn't have aiming systems. But now that we're unspotted and Kansas has basically turned away to run away to the border, we can finally start pushing in and I guess keep chasing. Kansas is also on a permafire, so he'll stay spotted. And, well, the 2 kilometers when a battleship, or actually it's any ship that's on fire, will let us know, basically, where he is this whole time. Fire goes out, so he damage conned it. So we're trying to now find a opportunity to farm Kansas without being spotted, which the islands currently in front of us, which we are nearly at, is going to be a perfect time to do it. Although Kansas doesn't care about the Jean Bar, he only cares about the Salem that's been farming him, unfortunately. So he basically holds his shot until I'm spotted, even though Jean Bar has been shooting him the whole time. We go unspotted behind the island. Probably should have waited a little longer, but at the same time I didn't want the cooldown of the damage con to go too far where he would get it back before he actually burns down. But at this point we can simply farm him to death. Our DPM is more than good enough. Candace is on a single perma, now a double, and well, I'd rather not proc a fight fire with fire, so I switch to AP, but then he starts angling away, and since he's angled away, it's not like we're really gonna do much. HE would still probably be better. We get a Witherer. We also have done quite a bit of damage from just farming it just without any kills, as I think Jean Bar has basically been finishing everything off. We finally get the Candace. I feel like we probably would have had at least one more, at least on the Iowa, maybe another Arsonist, but Jean Bar got the last hit in. And now, well, we're doing pretty good. We at least have one stack of our ledge mod, which gives us 5% more damage, which I'm not actually sure if we're passing the 5k for a Citadel mark, which is essentially where these ships should be, but again, Salem's main battery got nerfed so badly, it was sitting at 4k, which is where Elbing is. Imagine a destroyer having better AP than heavy cruiser. But yeah, that's where we're currently at. The enemy team does have a pretty big ship advantage, which honestly is kind of bad. Enemy Alfie is spotted by our friendly Jaeger, who actually somehow survived. He's been on such low HP for the whole match. All he really did was, I guess, run away. We're trying to finish off all of these low HP ships as quickly as we can, although Jaeger Torps does get the Amalfi pretty quickly. Also to note that there is an enemy New Orleans, a fail div on the other team, which, I mean, obviously losing to a fail div on the other team isn't great. They're at a huge disadvantage to start with, but we're still somehow losing. It is what it is. We can't exactly push out that far. Otherwise, Amagi can Citadel us and smash us. We don't have a whole lot of HP left. So we try our best to conserve our HP. Amagi does shoot at us, but fortunately he doesn't get much damage done. New Orleans pushing out flat broadside. We get a couple of Citadels. And, well, at this point, I was kind of curious. I mean, we have quite a big points lead. Not really sure. This was a terrible idea, though, to charge out at a New Orleans. I knew we could finish him off without a problem. We still had one super heal, which was basically what I was banking on, kind of keeping me alive. We don't finish him off and leave him on a sliver of HP, which is kind of unfortunate. Kind of a unfortunate waste of another salvo. But now we're trying to put as much damage into the Amagi as we can. And, well, having punched through on this increased damage with AP, well, we can do quite a bit of damage. But, yeah, unfortunately, that one last salvo that we had to waste on the New Orleans because we left them on a sliver of HP, we weren't able to just simply shoot the Amagi. Had we been able to shoot the Amagi, maybe we would have actually survived because our DPM would have finished him off. But at this point, I think even if the Jean Bar dies, we're going to be fine. I guess also, had the Jaeger actually landed torps on the Amagi before I pushed out, I think that would have also been more than enough damage to have helped us. I think after he torped the, pretty sure it was the Amalfi, I don't think he really landed any sort of torpedoes, and now it's just up to our Jean Bar to brawl a Amagi. And ideally, Jean Bar would win. I mean, all he has to really do is shoot the superstructure of the Amagi, but he, I guess, thought he could get a pen and try to Citadel him instead. But now it's not looking good. Our Jean Bar is broadside to an Amagi. And, well, yeah, it's kind of not looking good. But time is running out. Jean-Bar gets another salvo, leaves him on a sliver of HP. Amagi trying all he can to get the Jean-Bar. Jean-Bar goes down, but we still had more than enough points as a lead. And we still do end up winning this match. Kind of wish we could have finished off the Amagi. Just needed a little more damage from our teammates, either Jaeger or Jean-Bar, who was very passive. But yeah, honestly, not bad. I feel like if we got the Iowa, had additional damage from our ledge mod as well, probably could have helped. And instead of having Jean-Bar, well, I don't know if I should say yoink. I mean, we weren't having an issue finishing them off. It was more or less he just got the last overpens in the superstructure. But it is what it is. Still a great game with the Salem, and honestly pretty good showcase of what Scott could technically do. Not sure if Beepley would have even allowed us to get that much damage on the broadside Amagi, because we wouldn't have the increased penetration. I feel like sometimes we do end up shattering if we weren't using punch through. And having punch through, well, does allow us to get that damage. Probably should be testing it in training rooms to actually figure that stuff out. But either way, the AP damage increase with the punch through is definitely noticeable, especially when we do get our legendary mod stacks. But yeah, Norman Scott. We have Lady Liberty guys on it though. But Norman Scott with double concealment inspirations. It does suck though, because this is my Alaska captain as well. And I'd rather have accuracy inspirations on Alaska. Presets win, man. But yeah, that's pretty much it for this video. I hope you guys enjoyed. If you did, leave a like and subscribe for more, and share it with your friends. Or leave a comment down below on other ships you want to see in the future. But till then, aloha.